Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Before we get into the politics scene, I just want to say one thing briefly not related to politics necessarily. Kinda, sorta. Like, you know that I've recently been on a binge about, like, you know, the whole IP, like, thing, you know, anti-copyright, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And, like, you know, like, where I made that video where I hypothetically said that, you know, is piracy good or bad? And I was like, oh, well, is it? I don't know. You'll have to, like, dig into that video to figure out, like, what could possibly be the answer to that question. Well, I decided to break that rule because I supported the official release of a movie recently. The Amazing Digital Circus, The Last Act. No spoilers at all, but I will say this. It's a good thing that I decided to avoid the leaks and avoid all of the drama surrounding it, because apparently everybody was stupid. Apparently some people were like super angry about this finale and saying that it was bad and harassed Gooseworks because it leaked and they didn't seem to mind that it leaked. Or it was beyond their control. Like, that was just the thing. That's the thing. Like, look, everybody glitch knew. The second that they made the Amazing Digital Circus, like the basically biggest internet animation phenomena in a long while, the second you say, hey, it's going to release on YouTube next month on the 19th, or well, it will be this month on the 19th, but you get what I'm saying. When it was first like released, it's going to be released June 19th, but also you could watch it on June 4th. It's like everybody knew that the spoilers were going to come on the screen. Somebody was like, I mean, because I saw it, like, there are some videos online, people filming the screen. Even though, again, everybody tried to make a big point about, like, no, don't film the screen. There are people who film the screen. And again, leaks came out. It's like, but they did the best that they could do, you know. They just did copyright strikes of, like, the leaks when they got posted, which, I mean, And I can't get into it because, again, no spoilers, but, if you are a person who, like, I mean, again, people were just stupid. Apparently it was on Twitter. Everybody was saying how it was a terrible finale and that blah, blah, blah. And it was like not worth it or something. Like, that wasn't worth the money. I literally just saw a tweet just now where I just saw, it's like, genuinely do not go there if it's not worth it. It's like, the fuck are you actually talking about? It was a great finale. It was an amazing finale. It was honestly like it was on the same level as the rest of the show, and it's just like, this is the problem with, like, I need to make a video about fandoms in general, because the fandom mentality is like an extremely reactionary one in every single one. Even the Digital Circus fandom, which is ironically like a very progressive, like, I mean, like, it's the same thing, like every fandom has like this weird reactionary element, not even necessarily like a politically reactionary element, but like a strange, like, weird reactionary, like, element. I just mentioned it, like, or at least I was gonna mention it. Steven Universe. The Steven Universe fandom is also a very obviously left-leaning fandom, but again, it was also had extremely reactionary elements where it's like, where when the creators or when certain things just don't fit in with what they want, fandoms get toxic, fandoms get crazy. And the Digital Circus fandom unfortunately got, like, very crazy, where it's like they were harassing the creator Gooseworks for not being bothered that the show got leaked. Even though, like, again, you fully, like, everybody knew that this was going to happen. Like, it was your responsibility to avoid the leaks or whatever. Gooseworks' job was to create the show. That is it. They owe you nothing else. They owe you the Digital Circus as it was made. They don't owe you anything else. They don't owe you your fan theories being proven right. In fact, if your fan theory was proven wrong, good. That was actually a great thing. Like, I mean, because I had fan theories. Some of my fan theories were proven right. Some of my fan theories were proven wrong. I won't say too much, but, like, one of my particular fan theories was proven wrong literally immediately once the fucking, like, finale came on. Like, immediately one of my fan theories was proven wrong. It doesn't matter. It was a great finale. It's this weird, like, entitlement that a lot of fans have, where they feel like because of their support, like, you owe, like, it's like, yes, Gooseworks owes a lot to the fans, but they owe you very little. It depends on what you mean by the term, like, you know, you owe a lot to your fans. Like, she owes gratitude to her fans for supporting her. That's what she does. But she does not owe you anything else. She does not owe you to make the finale the way you wanted the finale to be. It's not my fault that you had expectations of the finale that didn't meet up to that were beyond what we wanted to do. You need to accept. People really need to get into the like. I gotta be real, like, cause people gotta get into my mindset in regards to like view. Like, you really need to get this. Every single show, movie, everything that is a piece of art, you are like the creator, and all the crew are the bus drivers. You guys are the passengers. You go where the bus goes. You don't get to go to the bus driver and demand, "Hey, bro, go drive this place." No, that's not your position. Your position, sit down, go with the flow until it stops. And when you do that, you'll actually you'll get a lot happier in regards to like how you. I mean, there's of course you can criticize and like give some commentary on like Digital Circus, like that kind of stuff. But again, like basing your viewpoint on the Digital Circus finale based on your specific interpretation of how you think the finale should have went is no. 10 out of 10, great movie. Anybody who hated it is wrong. Anyways, let's get right into the news. First, we're going to give a brief update on the Colombian presidential election, because the Colombian presidential election is coming up pretty soon. Like, I mean, we just had the first round, and now we're moving on to the second round. And the second round is going to be a little bit of a... Let's just get into it. The runoff is, of course, Ivan Cepeda and Abelardo de la Espriella. The far-right candidate, Espriella, and the left-wing candidate, Ivan Cepeda. And there's some concerns that a lot of people have with this election. For one, Espriella, he is currently doing better in regards to the polls. And also, he just got the endorsement of Donald Trump. And also, when it came time for second round endorsements, things are also not going so well for Cepeda. As of now, there are two presidential candidates that have endorsed Espriella and two presidential candidates that have endorsed Cepeda. The ones that endorsed Cepeda, well, I guess technically it's three because of okay, but we'll explain that. Okay, Salcedo and Luis Gilberto, they endorsed him in the first round, so technically they're still endorsing him in the second round. But of the other remaining candidates, Roy Barreras has also endorsed Cepeda in the second round. But then for the second round, there's Miguel Uribe, who is announced his support for Espriella, and Palomo Valencia has also announced their support for Espriella. And that's a bit of a problem because, as of now, Roy Barrios, he got like 14,000 votes, which is impressive, obviously. But that is, of course, like the new endorsement that has endorsed Cepeda. It's like, okay, cool. You had 14,000 votes to his 9 million. Then we get to Valencia, who had 1 million votes, and you add that to Espriella's 10 million, and you realize, yikes. And again, the two polls that have been conducted ever since, since the first round show Espriella winning with almost a 10-point lead. Now, there are some things that we need to take into consideration, and one of the things I will say, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily count it over, because some people are immediately wanting to count it over, but I will say that in this same time period, like in the immediate aftermath of the first round in the previous Colombian presidential election, the right-wing candidate Rodolfo Hernandez was doing pretty well in the polls prior to the election. But granted, the one thing that people would probably bring up is the fact that margin of error and, that kind of stuff was generally a lot smaller than the divide between Espriella and Cepeda. I don't know how the election is going to go because there's a lot of factors in play here, but I will say, hopefully things will go good for Colombia. And speaking of things in regards to foreign affairs, there was a vote in the United States House of Representatives in regards to the War Powers Resolution. Now, there was the War Powers Resolution in favor of Iran, but there was also a different War Power Resolution. It was a War Power Resolution released by Rashid Tlaib, which was specifically focused on what is going on in Lebanon. Now, I think, again, we all need to remember what is the War Powers Resolution. The War Powers Resolution is a very simple rule. It is the rule in the U.S. House that literally says, a president cannot go to war without congressional approval. And that's literally what Rashida Tlaib is basically saying for Lebanon. You know, everybody's focusing on Iran. She's basically saying, hey, let's also bring up the fact that the United States is also at least somewhat involved in, like, Israel's attacks on Lebanon. So it's like, let's rein in that power as well, so that unless, again, you want to make a full declaration of war in Lebanon, do it, just do it. Because we keep doing the thing where we're like, oh, we're not technically at war, but it's like, then why are we involved in these conflicts anyways? And the obvious, like, people knew that this one was probably not going to be as big as the other one, because Hakeem Jeffries announced that, like, him and, like, the other top two members of the House were basically saying, like, hey, we are not going to vote. We encourage Democrats to not vote for this bill. And the reason why they said it is because, quote, there are no U.S. service members involved in combat operations or hostilities in Lebanon. We stand with the Lebanese people, the government of Lebanon, and the Lebanese armed forces in their efforts to live peacefully and defeat Hezbollah, they said. And when the vote ended up going to the House of Representatives, the vote was pretty much exactly what you would expect. Only 92 members of the U.S. House of Representatives voted in favor of it, and the remaining 325 members of the U.S. House of Representatives voted against it, with, of course, it being broadly broken down with, like, 91 Democrats and 1 Republican. Obviously, the 1 Republican is Thomas Massie. And then the House leaders also went so far as to say they would support a war powers resolution in Lebanon, but not this one, because they want to, quote, support an alternative measure that would preserve U.S. coordination with the Lebanese armed forces in their fight against Hezbollah. So, like, this is the thing. I don't understand what the issue is. Like, because this is the thing. This is literally just the War Powers Resolution. Remember, the War Powers Resolution is literally, we can, like, unless we formally declare war on Lebanon, we will not be involved in the attacks on Lebanon. And yet these guys are, like, now saying, like, oh, no. We want to do one that specifically allows us to remain in Lebanon without declaring war. It's like, then what is the point of the War Powers Resolution if you're going to do the thing? Because again, and this is the thing. It's also, again, it's like, literally, it's like Rashid, like, this is the thing about Rashida Tlaib. It's like, again, this is a war powers resolution. You guys aren't under, like, this is the thing. I'm not quite understand. I know what it is, because they just want to do a forever war with Lebanon. But this is the thing I'm not understanding on a logistical level. Like, on a logistical level, this is literally what would happen, since this is clearly what they want. They want to declare war on Lebanon. Here's what would happen. A beep, boop, boop. Donald Trump wants to declare war on Lebanon. Go to Congress for approval. Congress will vote for it. Again, if you want to go to war with Lebanon, go to war with Lebanon. Just up front, go to war with Lebanon. But of course they don't want to do that, because if they did that, then the American people would not want them to reign in office. But I guess there's not much for me to say on that, so let's move on to the next story, which is a depressing news story, and a thing that I need to say again. I really don't want to say it again, but again, justifies the vote that I did in November. But CBS has fired the 60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley after the current clash going on with Barry Weiss. Because if you don't remember, Barry Weiss has basically been trying to turn 60 Minutes and CBS has turned CBS News into a Trump mouthpiece, and is basically doing the same. Like, this is the thing that her and all the other people like this are doing. It's like, it's the same thing that Elon Musk did with Twitter. They don't want to build any new thing. Like, because people like to say this about, like, these guys when they see this thing. It's like, why are they doing this thing? It's not making them money. It's not blah, blah, blah. Like it's like with Elon, like Twitter. Like, it's like Twitter has lost revenue basically every day since Elon Musk has owned it. So the people, like, make the logic brain analysis of, why would he buy Twitter only to ruin it? And it's like, that's the point. He bought it to ruin it. Twitter was a space where left-wing voices were amplified massively, because that was just the culture of Twitter. But now, Twitter is basically just the Nazi version of Facebook. That's what it is. It's Facebook for slightly younger people. It's the same thing with Trump buying TikTok. He bought it, he changed his mind on the whole, like, TikTok ban, and then specifically bought it so that he could start controlling it. And it's what's currently going on with CBS. They didn't buy CBS to, like, actually, because they can't form another Fox News, because another Fox News is not what they need. They don't need another Fox News. They don't need another Newsmax. They don't need those things. What they need is to take the currently existing forms of entertainment and information that are readily available to the American public and make them worse. And they currently do it through the weaponization of the FCC, which is what they've done with like Stephen Colbert, and also that's one big thing. Like what they did with Stephen Colbert, that was a prime example. They weaponized the FCC to make Stephen Colbert go bye-bye. And since they can't make a new Fox News or Newsmax, they want to take the currently existing news organization that is quote-unquote trustworthy, CBS, and then turn it into the new thing. Even if it doesn't work, even if it doesn't become like an economically successfully viable thing, that's not the point. The point is now we don't have CBS anymore. CBS is gone. To save the Twitter, it doesn't matter if like X, quote-unquote X, the everything app, becomes a popular, viable app. That doesn't matter. What matters is Twitter is gone. Now Elon Musk controls the information that is readily available on Twitter. Now Donald Trump gets control of the information that CBS does and doesn't want you to see. And we saw that very excellently with like what happened with the 60-minute segment on the fucking Trump concentration camps, where it's literally like, hey, they wanted to publish a story about the fucking like El Salvador concentration camps, and then they weren't allowed to for a long period of time. And it's like, why not? And like Scott Pelley is basically upfront and saying like, hey, when I was like in my last couple of weeks, they were literally telling me, hey, put fake information in these stories, and I'm not going to do that. And so due to the fact that I told them, I'm like, hey, you're ruining this fucking like, you're ruining 60 Minutes. They said, okay then, goodbye. And since the Trump administration is like one of the most obviously overtly corrupt institutions in American history, they keep dangling the keys to just objectively just get people to go online. It's the same, and they're currently doing the same thing with CNN. Like with the whole like Warner Brothers like HBO. Is it Warner Brothers or HBO, or which company was merging with HBO again? It was it's Paramount Skydance merging with Warner Bros. Discovery, which is just like, that would just be a super unprecedented media monopoly that would just be absolutely atrocious. And again, it was steamrolled very quickly in the Trump administration. Like I mean, we saw, of course, Warner Bros. Discovery merged in like the Biden administration. Then we had the Paramount Skydance merged in the late Biden administration, technically. And now we're going on to the point where like they're planning to possibly merge into one bigger thing, where one conservative family would be able to own multiple news stations. They would own CBS and CNN, which also has massive things that trickle down to all the normal, like quote-unquote normal aspects of people's lives. Like, for example, big example, like, you guys need to understand, it is not about whether or not they'll actually make money. It doesn't matter if the Paramount Skydance, like, Warner Bros. Discovery merger does amazing. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter whether or not they make money after the merger or not. What matters is they have control over a vast majority of the media enterprises. Much the same way with Twitter. Like, it didn't matter. Like, Elon Musk did not buy Twitter because he actually cared about Twitter. He bought Twitter so that there wouldn't be a Twitter. And since these companies are too ingrained in American people's lives, we cannot truly divest from them to vote with our dollar. Anyways, let's move on to the next story, and we're going to be covering, like, technically some election updates and also two stories that are kind of related to, I guess, quote-unquote, like, like, just I guess for lack of a better term, you could call them smears. I guess, yeah, just for lack of a better term, I guess. But basically, here's the first one. And I'm not going to go over all the recent elections that happened in the, like, recently, because most of them were kind of, like, average, like, I mean, most of them are California, so it's like some candidates did well and moved on to the second round, and some that didn't. But the biggest electoral win that we got recently was Adam Hamawy, who won the New Jersey District 12 election. Even going so far as to beating the Working Families Party candidate Sue Altman, who everybody was like, I remember at one point she used to be like perceived as like the progressive candidate, and even back then in 2024 when she was like the quote unquote, like everyone was like, oh, she's so cool. I saw everybody, like a ton of people on my feed were literally saying like, oh, she's so fucking cool, she's so amazing, she's so blah 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 blah, and it's like, I don't like her at all. and this most recent election ever so greatly made her look 10 times worse, because in this race, like Adam Hamawy, he's like let's just cut to the chase. He's a Muslim. So in the last couple of minutes for the race, like right before the election was to happen and kind of in the immediate aftermath of the election, they've basically gone through one of their big smear campaigns to make sure that Adam Hamawy is not liked among the American people. And the biggest thing that everybody's been saying is just like, they just flat out just say Adam Hamawy is a terrorist. Like, primarily because of the fact that he worked with one medical organization in relation to the Middle East that was alleged to be somewhat related to quote-unquote terrorism. And the one that was, I guess, the most poignant critique was that when he was in his 20s, he was a medical student in his 20s, and at one point had accompanied a well-known guy by the name of Omar Abdel Raham, and had spoken in his defense, because this guy was like a blind Muslim cleric who was very outspoken in his views against the United States. And I think he is supposed to be, I mean, Omar was charged because there was, I guess, enough evidence there in that instance to corroborate that he was at least somewhat directly involved, but Hamawy obviously was not, otherwise he would be. I mean, currently he is not in prison, and very obviously his career has taken a bit of a massive shift after the fact, considering Hamawy joined the U.S. military, became a 9/11 first responder, and was very actively involved in helping U.S. veterans during the Iraq War, even to the point where he is credited with saving the life of incumbent Senator Tammy Duckworth. And Hamawy's basically, the whole thing about Hamawy is basically this is very clear, just guilt by association. This story originally came out in a super anti-Muslim pamphlet, so it was very clearly to paint all the Muslims in the area as bad, even though basically what he was what the guy was saying at the time was just words. I think it was the idea is that it was he's got very heated in language. And I mean, I've seen fucking church pastors say infinitely terrible things on the pulpit. And one of the most embarrassing elements that I really have to say in regards to this is one of the people who has been trying to smear Adam Hamawy is Mike Lawler. And Mike Lawler was oh, how dare the Democrats nominate this terrorist in fucking this state. And it's there's multiple photos of Mike Lawler positively palling around with Itamar Ben-Gvir, a guy who literally helped murder the Israeli prime minister. So I think, again, you guys really can't be throwing stones. But anyway, speaking of throwing stones, let's move on to the second big story in regards to a negative media coverage. And it is the ill-fated Graham Platner New York Times article, something that was hyped up a lot when this article was being slated to be released. And I would recommend everybody to read the article in full by themselves. If you haven't read it yet, feel free to read it. But if you, I think you should read it for yourself from start to finish, a full way. Because it is it's an article that very clearly does, because this is the big thing. This was, of course, an article that was really hyped up. Everybody was hyping this article up as really, really big. Because every single time this happens with Graham Platner, it's every single time a news story pops up about Graham Platner, the news story becomes, what's next? What is Graham what's the Graham Platner story now? Everybody is hypes up, this is the thing that will end his campaign. And this one was the biggest hyped one yet. Because everybody seemed to really, at one point, think on Twitter, this will be the thing that kills his campaign. And I read it. I read the whole thing from top to finish, because obviously that's what you do in this situation. You read it, and here's what it says. It explains that there are some relationships Graham Platner had where he was not the best boyfriend. Ranging from mildly, cringe things that he did, they brought up again the him cheating on his wife part, and they brought up the fact that he would, frequently ghost the people that he would have one-night stands with. But then they would also bring up things that were, a little bit more poignant, bring up the fact that during his, extremely depressive PTSD-related state, he would get drunk, and he would get, it always says in the article, like, never violent, never anything that like becomes directly domestic violence or domestic abuse. But it was stuff that teetered on the line, with one particular instance bringing up that during one argument that he had with one of his partners, he grabbed their wrist and then held it like behind their back to like calm them down, according to Graham. Like stuff that would obviously cause your eyebrow to be raised if you saw that happen. And for a lot of people, everybody was like one side of the aisle said, this proves Graham Platner is evil and bad and blah, blah, blah. And the other side says, this vindicates Graham Platner for being amazing, great, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's just a lot of, and there's honestly like really so much to unpack in this story. And big one I just gotta say is this. I really, really, really hate this big sensationalization of the Graham Platner story. Cause like this is the big thing. Every single time I see people talk about like Graham Platner allegations, every single time Graham Platner allegations always get brought up, like in the concept of like more allegations are gonna come out, more allegations come out. Everybody is seemingly looking for rape allegations. And that is the fucking like terrible thing. Everybody, it's not that they're trying to figure out what this candidate has done and they're trying to figure out the truth. No, it's that they are actively looking for specifically rape allegations, specifically to hurt Graham Platner. Like, cause like that's one of the big media narratives for everybody. Like liberals say, like, oh, there are rape accusations out there. The GOP's just secretly hiding them, and then the GOP's like, oh, we're gonna find the rape allegations sometime. It's like, look, again, this is like really fucking like depressing. Like, you just want to flat out weaponize, like, rape allegations against a political opponent of yours. That's just what you want to do. Liberals and conservatives want to weaponize rape accusations against Graham Platner, not because they care about women, not because they care about rape, because specifically they care about taking Graham Platner down. That is the sole reason why they're doing it. And that's disgusting. That's fucking pathetic. That's terrible. And you should be ashamed for even remotely doing this. Because here's the fact: if you are a person, and this is a thing for anybody in this here that is listening to this video. If you know anything about Graham Platner and you are keeping it hidden, you are part of the problem. This is the truth. If you know for a fact that Graham Platner has raped somebody, and you are intentionally hiding that information to secretly be released at some other later date to like hype it up as like a big smear campaign, you are doing a terrible job. You are doing a bad job. You are a bad person. And if you believe in heaven, you're going to hell. That is the truth. The point of the Me Too movement was to fully end the idea that we secretly have to wait like 5 million years until we can reveal rape allegations against somebody. No, the point is now we are more comfortable, more expressive of allowing these kinds of things to be aired out. Now we are encouraging people to come forward immediately so that you don't have to wait 5 million years to just get these informations out there and then just get your life ruined because your statute of limitations are gone. And another problem that came from this story that kind of relates to that topic is who is the person who is releasing this information? Because the woman who was like leading the charge on this specific information is a Heritage Foundation employee who in the article has like this really weird on and off relationship with Republican organizations and specifically the Suzanne Collins campaign. Cause they basically said she at one point worked with an organization that is very heavily affiliated with Suzanne Collins. Then also in the article states that she gave messages out that said that she was going to campaign for Suzanne Collins in this race. So immediately the question of that part is so she's clearly doing this as a sort of smear job. That's clearly why she's doing this. Now, that does not necessarily mean that the stories are inherently false, but then another element that came out in regards to people questioning her doing this is two things that happened afterwards. When this story was released, she immediately went to Twitter to say that this article was bullshit. Not that the article is bullshit and the fact, like, she basically was saying, like, they downplayed her accusations because they couldn't corroborate information that she stated. And they made points in the article where they said, like that point where I mentioned where it's like, he grabbed her arm, because, like, that accusation came from her, that he grabbed her arm and then held her down. And then they're like, we can't corroborate that, we can't corroborate that information. We can't verify if that happened or not. And she's like, of course you can't verify it because I didn't tell anybody. And it's like, but again, it's like, again, we can't verify it, so that's a little bit of a problem. And then another thing that came out was the fact that they looked through her history of her political activism, and it shows that she hated Christine Blasey Ford, the woman who came out with sexual assault allegations against Brett Kavanaugh, and claimed that she was doing it as a political smear job trying to ruin Brett Kavanaugh's career. So everybody's immediately like, oh, so yeah. And she's trying to say, like, no. You see, in that instance, that was that. But in this instance, it's like, but again, like, this raises suspicion in this level. It's the same reason why, like, I mean, it's also the same thing with, like, all the people who are bringing up these accusations. Because, like, everybody who I've seen talk about these allegations as, like, seriously and bad and terrible, they're all people who supported Andrew Cuomo and Donald Trump. Like, literally, it's just, like, that's one of the big things that why this really can't land. Unless you fully have 100% verifiable, like, child rape accusations against Graham Platner, like, Republicans have literally no leg to stand on. You guys literally just had a primary for the United States House of Representatives where you decided that, like, where you point blank stated that there was two candidates in the ballot. One was anti-child sex trafficking. The other one was pro-it, or at the very least, pro not letting those people go to jail. And you guys said, bye-bye person who wants to end child sex trafficking. And it's just, like, bro, again, I just really don't fucking know at this point, bro. Because it's the problem. It's like, you guys, it's like, again, it's like, this story is just so fucked. Because it's like, it has absolutely nothing to do with any of the elements to specifically help or hurt victims. That's the one problem with this story, why I can't take anything regarding this seriously. None of this is about helping victims. None of this is about helping people. None of this is about that. It is specifically all about, we need to pwn Graham Platner, people. And it's the same thing, like, with people like, I mean, I don't want to name drop him specifically, but, like, there are some people on the online ultra left who want to, like, you know, be like, haha, Hassan Piker, how dare you support Graham Platner when Graham Platner is bad? And it's like, again, it's all purely about just getting a pwn on Graham Platner. That's all it is. That's all they're trying to do. That's everything that they're doing. Like, and honestly, the truth of the matter is, my honest opinion on this is that I just need to know one question about Graham Platner. I just need to know one question about Graham Platner. People can verify that. Like, I mean, if anybody can find any information regarding this factoid, I'd love to hear it. And it's the question of, is Graham Platner sober? That's the one question I need to know. Is Graham Platner currently sober? Does he abstain from drinking alcohol in any circumstance, not just in social circumstances, in any circumstance? Does he no longer drink alcohol? If he can verifiably tell me with a straight face and show me verifiable proof that he does not drink alcohol at all, then I would trust him a lot more. If he even remotely says, okay, I drink in social situations, no. Fuck Graham Platner then. That would be it. Because all of these instances came specifically from his drinking problems, from his depression, from his, like, PTSD, and again, the drinking problems. If he truly was sober, then I would again trust him. But if he isn't, then I can't trust him. If he was like this when he was drunk in the past, I can't verify that he won't be like this when he's drunk in the future. It's why I think actually broadly, I think we should just get broadly sober people. Like, I mean, hot take. This is a true, real take. Hot take. Drinking is cringe. I gotta say it. Drinking alcohol is fucking cringe. And you guys, anybody who does it is, I mean, you're free to do whatever you want, I guess. But I mean, I personally would prefer to be in control of my actions. But I guess you do you, I guess. Anyways, let's move on to the last news story. And it's just I just want to add a little funny feel-good story because of an interesting development that is happening. I originally had two copyright-related stories, but I decided to just cover this one because, you know, just in case people like want to cover this a little bit more. And it is the recent development of the Klein denims like lawsuit. I don't know why I was blanking on lawsuit. The word is literally right there in front of me. But if you don't know, Ethan Klein has sued multiple female streamers who reacted to his content nuke and tried to, again, like sue them out of existence. One of them, Casey Tron, was forced by Ethan Klein to make a public apology, basically saying, like, I'm sorry for tainting the legacy of my lord Ethan Klein. I don't know what's going on with Frogan, but Denims has decided to just fucking go ahead and fight the lawsuit. And it's not official quite yet, but currently there is a tentative ruling in this lawsuit where the judge flat out says Ethan Klein is in the wrong and Denims is in the right. And the big irony about all of this is that Ethan Klein, his own lawsuit was used to defend Denims. Because, like, Denims, one of her main points, and one of the main points just in regards to intellectual property law and period, was the fact that Ethan Klein had fought a lawsuit very similar to this long ago against another creator named Mad Haas, who wanted to claim that the Ethan Klein videos were an infringement of copyright. But then Ethan Klein basically fought to make sure that those types of, like, they're not necessarily reaction videos, but they're like, I guess, like, rebuking videos, I guess, like, commentary videos. Like, the commentary style, like, video segment plays, cuts to person, like, I guess, like, technically even Ethan Klein would be kind of, like, seen as, like, a reaction content creator to an extent back in the day, because that was the way his content was formatted. It was as if he was watching the video right then and there. I don't know if it was, like, he really was watching the video right then and there, but that was the way that the video was formatted, obviously, where it's like he would sit there and it would be as if he is watching the video. And this is a sort of like debate on YouTube in regards to intellectual property and copyright and fair use for a long period of time. Like, the nostalgia critic Doug Walker launched the "Where's the Fair Use" like hashtag a million years ago, purely on this topic as well, because he does a similar content style where it's like nostalgia critic clips of a movie, nostalgia critic clips. It was a similar thing back in the day where it's like Ethan Klein clips, this. The one big addendum with this one was purely the fact that Denims played the video in full, and that was like literally they pointed out just purely. I guess I could just go over the fair use like documents, because they literally cite in the court documents specifically the things that make it so that this video does fall under fair use. Like it says right here, the undisputed purpose of the defendant's live stream is to contest, criticize, and mock plaintiff's message, which the courts have found weighs in favor of fair use due to its transportive nature. See Haslin-Dade v. Klein. The law is clear, however, that quantity alone is not determinative, again, citing the Haas case, and the defendant's livestream is not a market substitute for the nuke, because someone watching the former will have a very different experience from watching the latter. Again, citing the Klein case once more. Again, like the explicit points in contention is like the fact that, again, they used purely Ethan Klein's own methods that he used to get out of the case against Mad Haas. Pointing out that, again, like these purposes are all purely like somewhat not even necessarily subjective, but like they're like again, and this is one of the things that I gotta say. This is one thing I will say that I do regret that I don't have a video specifically planned to deal with this specific thing, and it's because I just didn't really have time. I have a lot of other videos that I want to get done, and I've already got a bunch of the other videos scheduled for the year. But it's like, this is a thing I really think we need to really focus on broader intellectual property reform. Because, again, we're just seeing this again, like the problems repeating once more. Fair use, like everybody's saying, fair use. It's like, fair use isn't enough. It really is not enough. And this case proves it. Ethan Klein was the spearhead leader of fair use in regards to the internet. And now he is claiming that he has this sort of copyright monopoly on his content. Like, again, even though again, multiple instances where it's like on one end we have literally Ethan Klein literally saying, "Hey, I don't care if you repost and remix my content at all, as long as you don't do a wholesale re-upload. And everyone was like trying to say like, look, but no, Denims did do a wholesale re-upload. It's like, no, I don't think Ethan Klein put a video of Denims right next to him saying I'm blah 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 blah. Ethan Klein, that's so cringe and that's so stupid. I don't think he did that. Clearly, that means it is not a wholesale re-upload. Like, and apparently everybody's even saying like Denim specifically is the one that had the best case because her video was literally the most transformative of the bunch. So it's like, it's funny that he even allowed this case to continue to actually go into this situation in the first place. Because again, Denims had the best case for fair use. And again, like, I genuinely, like, bro, this is the thing. It's like, again, we need to go beyond fair use because I'm seeing this again, like Progressive Victory. Progressive Victory, the new, like, Vosh kind of led organization, is basically like their spearheaded moment. I saw one of their I saw like one of their like things, like a candidate like thing where it's like, we will only endorse candidates that blah blah blah. It's like, you know, like, so like we will only endorse candidates that support Medicare for all, that support Ukraine, that support like this. And one of the issues that they brought up was the fact that we will support candidates that specifically advocate for intellectual property reform. I'm like, ooh, hold on. And then it's like, but then you read it and it's like, they only specifically want to make it so that streamers can react to content. That's basically what it is. Because, like, yeah, of course Vosh would want to do that. That's what Vosh would want the candidates to espouse and do. Again, all of this is purely to provide, like, and they did it again under the lens of quote unquote fair use. No, it's not. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say, like, is it fair use? Is it not fair use? Well, clearly this court case seems to imply that it is at least somewhat transformative enough to be fair use. But again, the thing about it is, like, the fact that Ethan Klein was able to bring this case to a trial and actually had to, like, Dennis had to put a lot of effort to actually fight this case shows that there is a little bit of a problem here. Again, most intellectual property reform debate, like most intellectual property debate that most people have currently is like basically just a restructuring of like the current system as it exists. When it's like we need to like fully, truly transform the system, whether it be through a system like Creative Commons or whether it be something even more drastic. But again, there needs to be a massive transformation. Maybe I'll make a video about that at one point in the future. But anyways, with that out of the way, let's move on to the main topic of this video. I did this for leftist ideologies, so it's time for me to also police the LGBTQ+ community. Because we seemingly also have a lot of attempts to cause division here as well. And it's very similar to the ones of the left-wing infighting. And there's many things about it. Like, one of the big things is, like, why do they want the infighting? And I'll just answer that point blank right here and now. Like, why is the infighting even, like, prevalent? Not even necessarily, like, why is it prevalent, but why is it seemingly, like, visibly prevalent? And the reason why is very simple. Because if the LGBTQ+ community is united, then we are a threat to the status quo. But keeping the LGBTQ movement divided and busy fighting each other, as opposed to being unified together, they're no longer a threat. Same thing with leftist infighting. You know, leftists, of course, can have, like, you know, ideological disagreements, obviously, and there could be somewhat disagreements in regards to the LGBTQ+ community as well. There can obviously be real, legitimate, like, things to criticize, complain about, and even, like, have debates and discussions about. But the fact of the matter is, this goes beyond just that. This goes further. This goes to, like, literal, like, full-on, like, I mean, because, I mean, I just gotta say it, like, we've seen this before, like, you know, LGB minus the T, or, like, you know, remove the T, or, like, drop the B campaign, like, all these different campaigns that exist, like, you know, to make some element of the LGBTQ movement seem othered from the rest of the movement. Even if, like, whether it comes from something organic, or whether it comes from, like, you know, outside forces. Or in the most honest case, you know, sometimes just a little bit of both. Like, and of course, let's just get into that. Like, I mean, the biggest modern day example that we, of course, have is the constant effort to, of course, separate the trans community from the rest of the LGB community. Most prominently through groups like the LGB Alliance and Gays Against Groomers. Now, of course, we all know those groups do not necessarily represent the broader trends within the LGBTQ community, but elements of what they say can seep down to people who actually do have some good intentions, but get groomed to have doubts beyond just small little things. And yes, They are grooming people, in more ways than one. Gays Against Groomers co-founder Jamie Mitchell was a collaborator with Ali Alexander, the insurrectionist who was caught sexting underage teen boys. But again, they're against groomers. Jamie, watch out, there's groomers behind you! Aw shit, she's got AirPods in! Also, to reiterate the point that was brought up in a previous segment in regards to other, reactionary movements, again, she doesn't really have a leg to stand on because she openly supported a child sex trafficker for president. Now, again, of course, these people are a very noticeable minority within the LGBT community. But, again, they could hypothetically tap into some slight misnomers and misunderstandings of the LGBT space that people might know somewhat prior. Like, the more accurate way anti-trans sentiment will arise in the LGBT community would come from the TERF mindset. And when I say TERF mindset, I mean like actual TERFs. Not like what's going on with the modern day with like pink Nazism. I mean like real people who are radical feminists who are trans exclusionary. Like in the literal sense. Trans exclusionary radical feminists. Not Nazi who wants to use a term to spread their hate. An example that I came up with in the research for this episode was radical lesbian feminist Janice Raymond. That title is very important, and we'll get into it in a bit. But she was very prevalent for writing a book called The Transsexual Empire, which is a book that is well known for, popularizing an anti-trans, for lack of a better term, slur, she-male, who accused trans women of upholding the patriarchy, and even went so far as to state in her book, quote, "All transsexuals rape women's bodies by reducing the real female form to an artifact appropriating this body for themselves, and transsexuals merely cut off the most obvious means of invading women so that they seem non-invasive." Granted, her analysis came from, for lack of a better term, like that type of feminism. Like, I mean, in my brain, I was gonna de facto say like something like broader, but I'm not gonna blame it entirety. I'm gonna blame the entirety of this on second wave feminism, because like that's like one of the things that a lot of people say, like, oh, this wave of feminism was good, this feminism wave was bad, but this feminism wave was like, that kind of stuff. But like it's just feminism broadly, is of course good. But we all know that there's that one specific subsection of feminism, not necessarily even the TERF one. Like, the TERF one is, of course, one of its major elements nowadays, but it's like that one subsection of feminism that is like, it's for lack of a better term, it's the thing that ruined the term feminism. The type that spells women with a Y in order to stick it to men. Like, showing, oh, men aren't even welcome in this word. This is a word for us. The ones that would be like, oh, using the term female is bad because it has the term male in it. The type that think that lesbianism is a way to rebel against men and not a sexuality that people are born with. That specific subsection of feminism. That's why I said, like, labeling her as a lesbian feminist is important, because that's the type of, like, feminist that she is. And again, this is coming from a somewhat left-leaning perspective in extent. Again, like, this is coming from a wave of feminism. This is coming from feminism, like, the thing that's supposed to attack the patriarchy, the thing that's supposed to go against it. Another example of this that actually came from prior to this book's release was the tension that arose between the gay man community and Christine Jorgensen, who, if you don't know, was very famous for being one of the first highly publicized sex change operations in the 1950s. Like, she was a US veteran who wanted to transition, got a sex change operation, and she became a very famous celebrity due to the fact that she was, again, like one of the first sex change operations. She's like literally like very famous specifically because of her sex change operation. Because she became somewhat of like a medical oddity at the time. That was like back in the day, like in the 50s, that kind of stuff. Those kinds of things were like very famous, and she ended up becoming very famous because of it. But one of the main problems was that there was a bit of tension between like the budding gay rights community that was arising in the 1950s and Christine Jorgensen. Like, there was, like, I mean, we all know gay rights activism really didn't start like becoming like really, really popular until like the 1970s. But, there was like a smaller, but still somewhat noticeable gay rights community that was like arising in the 50s. And a lot of gay men at the time did not like Christine Jorgensen. Like, they actually, in fact, a lot of them were actually very vocally opposed to Christine Jorgensen. Because in their mind, she was arguing that she was agreeing with the stereotype that, quote unquote, gay men were, women. That was the thing that was happening. And that was like, but the thing was like Christian, like they were, because that was like a big thing that was, and Christian Jorgensen did not show any favors there either, because a lot of reporters would then go to Christian Jorgensen and be like, are you gay? Are you a gay man? Or whatever. Like, that was the big thing. Like, are you a gay man? And it's like, no, I'm not a gay. I am a woman. That was the thing that Christian Jorgensen would say. So there was, of course, like the tension, like, everybody implying that Christian Jorgensen and these gay men were one and the same was led to these two groups and people who probably would have been, of course, solidarity in regards to other aspects. They were now being pushed away from each other. That was the other thing. Like, that was the big othering. Like, Christian Jorgensen would argue that I am not a gay man. I am a perfectly normal woman. Again, like, that's the thing. Notice the phrasing. Perfectly normal. The implication being that what Christine Jorgensen is doing is good and normal. What the gay men are doing is not normal. And the gay men would do the same thing. It's like, what they're doing is not normal. What we're doing is normal. Again, even though you could easily just go, we're both normal. They didn't want to do that. They felt that it was better, and due to, the confusion that a lot of other people had, they felt that it would be more appropriate to throw the other person under the bus, specifically so that they can get their movement forward and put the other version back. An example of which came from a film that was somewhat inspired by Christine Jorgensen, the film Glenn or Glenda, which I made a video about on this channel prior, where there's a specific segment of the film where the creator of the film very clearly expresses support for transgender and cross-dressing, but again, argues against homosexuality by implying it's not normal. I would quote this segment myself, but it uses a pretty outdated term in the film, in that segment, and I'm already in timeout from the trans community due to the fact that I used the no 4chan word. So, but the good news is that I can actually put the segment in this video because the film is in the public domain. So here's the segment.
Glenn is not a homosexual. Glenn is a transvestite, but he is not a homosexual. Transvestism is the term given by medical science to those persons who desperately wish to wear the clothing of the opposite sex, yet whose sex life in all instances remains quite normal.
Granted, for Christine specifically, it seems that hers was more literally just saying, I am not gay, which is true. She was not gay. She was straight. She ended up marrying a man. But again, that was the big thing. That was the big thing. The same, everybody, ironically, everybody in that segment I was saying before, the TERF lesbians, the gay men against Christine, the, Ed Wood, all these people, Glenn Greenwald, all these types of people, they're all doing the same thing, where it's just arguing, if we sell out this other minority group, then maybe the powers that will leave us alone. Because as we all know, Ed Wood attacking gay people made cross-dressing way more acceptable in the modern day. Wouldn't you agree? These attacks obviously have no basis in reality, not even just a scientific or medical expertise, but also just generally in all other aspects, it just makes no sense. But I will also mention there's also another specific LGBTQ identity that has a bit of a massive problems in attempts to divide it from the rest. Bisexuality. Not to imply that this one is worse than transphobia, I just know this one a little bit more intimately because this is a subject that I've covered on this channel before. I've also covered trans rights before, but again, I just know this one a little bit more intimately. So, the specific video in question was me covering the specific element of biphobia, bisexual erasure, where bi people are just flat out erased, whether it be historical bisexual people that are erased from history, or just the simple factoid of, nuh-uh, you can't be bi, just pick one. And trans people can relate to that last part as well. They can relate to that, and that's another thing, intersectionality, community, solidarity, we all have a lot of the same problems. And one of the things I mentioned in that podcast was the short-lived drop the B hashtag. But one failure on my part in the research of that was not realizing that was also a right-wing AstroTurf campaign by 4chan. But unfortunately, similar to those attacks, they do seem to harbor real feelings that some people might have. Whether it be the claim that bisexuality is actually like a secret slight against trans people, to the point that some trans people don't want to be with bi people, specifically because of the feeling that when they look at them, they're only with them because, this is a bit anecdotal, but there's like some trans people who do not like being with bisexual people because the idea is, they fear that the reason why the bisexual person is with them is because they don't pass as well as they should. But also there's, of course, the gay and lesbian people who interpret bisexuality as gay people who do not want to go all the way and simply want to mask for the straights. Similar to the trans hate, it's all baseless and based on internalized feelings forced onto us by the heteronormative right-wing patriarchy. Yeah, there might be some times where an individual bisexual person is shitty. But again, that could be the same thing. You could say the same thing about a trans person. They could be shitty trans people. I'm not going to blame every single trans person in my audience for the actions of Aaron Green, the child groomer. Much in the same way, we also don't have to blame every single Jewish person for the actions of Benjamin Netanyahu. Shockingly, people can have a little bit of a difference of opinion in regards to certain things. And that's the biggest thing you all have to understand when you do this type of rhetoric and you do this type of thinking. And no matter what you are, it literally doesn't matter if this is of course focused purely on the LGBTQ movement, but this also can expand broader, and I'm going to get into some examples of how this expands broader. But here's the thing. There is no scenario where one minority group sells out another minority group, and then it works out for both of those minority groups. Certain subsections of the African American community sold out gay rights back in the day. Now, the modern right wing is overtly white supremacist. TERFs have been desperately fighting for quote-unquote sex-based human rights and trying to oppose trans people. And now the modern-day right wing talks about repealing women's suffrage. And some LGBT people have been desperately trying to other the trans community. And now the European Court of Human Rights says that trans people being segregated is not a human rights violation, but mocking Christians for believing homosexuality is a sin is a human rights violation. Great job, gays. The playbook that is used against trans people is the exact same playbook that was used against Muslims in the 2000s, gay people in the 80s, black people in the 60s, Jews in the 40s, the Irish in the 20s, etc., etc. Literally hating any minority group is stupid because I've seen literally every single tactic before. This is just the thing. I really don't even feel it. Sometimes I say this and then it's just I don't provide examples because I really don't feel like I have to, because it's just anybody who even remotely does any research can see this for a fact. Trans people are groomers. Literally, there's a very prominent film called Boys Beware, which is an anti-gay movie from the 50s that was literally warning people about the dangers of homosexuality. It's, in reality, a film warning people about the dangers of a pedophile, but it's not. They don't say pedophile. They say homosexual. There was the common stereotype was that black men were raping white women like crazy, and that every single white woman who said that a black man raped her was 100% verifiably true. So the fact that people in these minority groups still feel the need to fall for the propaganda is just ludicrous. Because again, it's just we have seen every single one of these tactics be used time and time again. And it's again, they're not going to stop. It's again, I cited this in the Imperial Boomerang episode. It's first they came for the communists. Then I didn't speak out because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the socialists. Then they came for the Jews. And they came for the trade unionists. Then they came for me. No one to speak for me. That's how it's going to be for the modern day with trans movement. They come for the trans people. They didn't speak out because they're not trans. Then they're going to come for the bi people. They didn't speak out because they weren't bi. Then they came for the gays. They didn't speak out because they were gay. Then they come for the black people. They didn't speak out because they weren't black. That's what it's going to be. That's how it's going to be. It's not going to stop at you. And we don't even have to do this in a hypothetical scenario for the LGBTQ movement, because literally Gallup just released a poll showing that American support for the LGBTQ community has started to drop since its absolute peak. Support for trans people has dropped 8 points, so now they have a 38% approval rating. Support for same-sex marriage has dropped 6 percentage points to 65%, and support for gay relationships in general has dropped to 62%. The lowest since 2016. And as some people might first think, gay people and, gay marriage isn't dropping back. No, you're not understanding. That's the point. That's the thing. Like, literally, think about it. Like, I mean, one, you're a fucking disgusting person for just being like, oh, well, it doesn't affect the gay people, so it's fine. But look, again, numbers are going down. Everybody was expecting the numbers would continually go up forever and ever and ever. And when did this all start? When the trans movement started becoming, like, heavily politicized, heavily attacked. And people even on the quote-unquote our side were forced to jump ship for various other reasons. Like, I mean, again, I remember when the trans bathroom bill was seen as such a controversial thing that it was like, even in North Carolina, it was like seen as like, that was like a big, massive no-no. Now, we're just getting stuff like this almost every single day. Like, a congressman named Andy Ogles literally just tweeted out, quote, homosexuality doesn't belong in America, which caused George Santos to emerge from his drag closet to whine about it. And it's like, bro, what the fuck did you expect? The party that was never officially pro-gay wasn't pro-gay? Your party literally insults trans women every week by calling them men in dresses? And then you, again, get mad that they're going after you, the actual fucking drag queen? And again, none of this is even remotely to acknowledge, like, the actual stupidity of it, which the reactionary gays show all the time. The biggest one that I see is like when they take the LGBTQIA plus acronym, and then they, like, one of those kind of things, we all know what it is. Like, they'll take LGBTQIA, but right after the B and then before the T, they'll put an emoji of a scissors to show that they're super serial about removing the transes from the LGBTQ community. And there's one tweet specifically that I saw where it was like, well, LGB deals with sexuality. The others deal with gender and/or our mental illnesses. As a way to try and legitimize the, like, differences between them in a sort of, like, liberal scientific sense. Because that was one of the big things. Like, there's, like, that sense of, like, liberal, quote-unquote, scientific anti-transness, which is not scientific at all, I don't care. Like, I mean, literally, Richard Dawkins is, like, just a fucking hack. Like, I really just want to get Matt and Sherry Parker. I want to get an interview with them specifically so I can ask them, like, how does it feel knowing that you literally ruined Richard Dawkins' brain so that he still gets mad at that fucking, like, joke that you guys made with him a million years ago? But to just quickly debunk that specific tweet, it's just flat out, no. First of all, human sexuality is a massive category, divided into many different aspects: attraction, gender, identity, etc. Shrinking it down to its barest bones is stupid, because if we really wanted to play that game, sexuality would very specifically be about sex exclusively, which is literally the conservative straw man about not accepting sexuality, because it's like, why do you want to teach kids about sex so much? And then people point out, like, no, homosexuality is not just about sex. It's like, well, you guys are saying it is. Like, now you guys are literally saying it is. But then even if you want to go that far, it's just like, clearly you're wrong on that aspect of that tweet as well. A in LGBTQIA stands for asexual, which is technically a lack of sexuality, but could also be put in the same category as bi, hetero, pan, and homo. It's the same thing with, like, atheist is technically not a religion, but they put it in the same category just for the sake of, like, putting it in the category so that people can, like, just to put it in the category. I stands for intersex, which is not an interpersonal identity. It is a thing that is exclusively built into your genetics. I've gotten into many different times where I have to, like, literally bring this up. Like, the intersex people are like, I literally remember I got into an argument with someone and it's like, they try to say that intersex is not real. I was like, no, it is. You're not understanding. It's not a interpersonal identity thing. It is a real scientific biological thing that you guys keep saying is like, oh, well, you're not biologically male. I was like, what about intersex people? What about them? Q stands for queer/questioning, meaning people who do not necessarily fit in any category in the acronym. But then, reactionary gays also do show one very big tell when every time they make a visual marker of this motion, where they will take the progress pride flag and then remove the progress part of the flag, like, not just removing the trans colors or the intersex part of the flag, but also conveniently find the time to also remove the black and brown lines that are put there to symbolize the mostly forgotten struggle of the LGBTQ people of color, which is one of the main poignant critiques of the LGBTQ community, which is the fact that, again, a lot of the struggle is broadly focused on the needs of upper middle class white gays, even to the point where they try to distance or erase the contributions of LGBTQ people of color. This example is very clearly just right here, right in front. But the most prominent example that I could think of is the attempt to erase or minimize the contributions of Marsha P. Johnson, a black trans woman who was very actively involved in the Stonewall riots, which was largely seen as the event that kickstarted the modern-day gay rights movement. She gets a lot more love, especially nowadays, but back in the day, she really was othered by the rest of the LGBTQ community in the movement. They didn't want her to be part of like any of the main focuses of the campaigns because she was, well, there was a lot of things that were going on in her personal life, and some of them were just not the best. Like, I mean, one of them was the fact that she was essentially forced into sex work, because that was one of the only jobs LGBTQ people can really get. And that was seen as like, like a no-no thing, where it's like other gays are like, we're respectable. It's like, well, give me a fucking break. You're not respectable. That's the thing. They don't think you're respectable at all. Like there is no like in the face of the reactionaries, there is no respectable gay. That's not a thing. And again, the removal of the contributions of LGBTQ people of color is just like very obvious when you really think about it. Like, I mean, I guarantee you, I can guarantee right here right now, if I were to put a poll up right now, how many of you know who Harvey Milk is? I guarantee you that poll is going to have a lot of people who vote in favor of they know who Harvey Milk is. But if I were to put a poll and say, who is Mel Boozer? You guys are not going to know who he is. And again, while we're here doing all this, like, struggle, fighting, and like all this kind of stuff about interpersonal drama and all this other stuff, what's going on? The reactionaries are taking everybody's rights away. Not stopping at a specific subgroup of gay that you deem as bad. Not even going to stop at just the gays in general. They're going to go after everybody. But no, you'd rather be focused on the fact that some trans people are sex positive and have OnlyFans accounts, even though the fact that they have OnlyFans accounts is an indication of the broader problem with the LGBTQ movement, due to the fact that many LGBTQ people and trans people specifically really have, like, this is the only job they can get. Like, sex work is the only job they can get due to the fetishization done by cisheads. The difference is, in the modern day, now they actually have autonomy of their own choices, and they can choose what they're comfortable doing, rather than having it be forced on them by, worse conditions. Rather than focusing on the reactionaries taking everybody's rights, you want to be a little bit concerned about the fact that you don't trust a bisexual ally because one bisexual guy cheated on you in high school. Grow the fuck up. If I base my behavior on solidarity on things like personal gripes, I'd literally never be an ally to any single group ever. What's that? A gender fluid person was mean to me in my personal life? I guess I just have to hate gender fluid people now. What's that? Someone who put he, him in pronouns in their bio told me to kill myself one time? I guess I just have to hate all he, hims now. Like, bro, literally, that is just kind of like a baby way of thinking about the world and like just anything. Like, that's just another smaller gripe. It's just like people who base like their entire like massive philosophical like belief system in regards to like whatever on like minute small things. It's like the same thing with like fucking like just like it's the same thing with like anecdotal evidence. Like, oh, someone was like one person commits Medicare fraud. Now you think somehow every single person around the world is doing Medicare fraud? Anyways, I don't really have much more to say, so again, I just gotta reiterate, I think that it would be best if the LGBT community stopped fighting and actually work together and actually try to address all the concerns that happen to all of us. Because again, it doesn't stop at just one person, it doesn't just stop at one subgroup. All of them might have slightly different issues, but they're all the same struggle. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the bell to find a future video of mine comes out. And if you want more content from me, consider supporting me on Patreon.